As Lori suggested, I want to begin by going back in time to October of 1960, when John F. Kennedy landed at the Ypsilanti Airport in southern Michigan, Willow Run. It was 1:45 in the morning, and Kennedy was in the last days of a tight election with Richard Nixon. And by the time he made it to the campus at the University of Michigan, in the campus hotel where he was going to stay that night, he was exhausted. The University of Michigan was not interested in exhaustion, however. There were 10,000 people who had come out to meet him. And there was a microphone set out on the front of the campus steps. And though the speechwriters were all holed up in the back room of the Memorial Union thinking or drinking or whatever it is speechwriters do, Kennedy knew he had to say something. "I came here to go to bed," he said. And then, in 3 minutes, at 2 o'clock in the morning, without ever consulting a speechwriter or taking a poll, Kennedy proposed one of the most enduring ideas of his short life. He proposed the Peace Corps. And shortly after he was elected, he made it happen. That makes this year the 50th anniversary of the Peace Corps. 200,000 men and women have served in 139 countries now, doing small acts, bringing improvements in education and agriculture and health to communities that need it. And along the way, those small acts have contributed to big goals, solving big problems like diffusing the atomic anger of the Cold War without a bomb, or helping build America's image overseas as not just a nation of power, but one also of promise. More than anything, the Peace Corps has shown that young leaders and national service can be an important tool in answering big problems. Now, we've been hearing about big problems all day today. We know the statistics. 1 in 3 American children is on track to develop type 2 diabetes, 1 in 2 of our children of color. We have more people living in prisons in America today than we have left able to make a living as farmers. We have an obesity epidemic so far out of control that military leaders call it a crisis of national security. Already 27% of young men and women in America wouldn't qualify for military service because they're too fat to fight. Unless we do something to put this runaway food system back on track, we are headed for the biggest and most expensive healthcare crisis we can imagine, far larger and far harder to fix than the one we're in right now. So looking at those big problems and looking for a solution, my question to you today, even though I'm much less handsome than John F. Kennedy, and even though I stand here just as a representative of many others who have had this idea, my question to you is, what could America look like 50 years from now if together we start a Peace Corps for school food? 31 million children eat school food 5 days a week, getting more than half their calories from school lunch, school breakfast, and school snack. What we feed our kids in school and what we teach them about food there affects how they grow, how they learn, what they're going to feed their own families, and how long they will live. School is where it all begins. Now, what could this Peace Corps for school food, the Food Corps, look like? I don't think we need the federal government to wholly run and fund this kind of program. They have enough to deal with in Washington as it is. But a small amount of support, a strategic investment from the government, a stamp of approval, could give us just the kind of fulcrum we need against which we can leverage the support of foundations and corporations and individual philanthropists who believe all children deserve a healthy future. There's a model for this kind of public-private partnership through national service. It's AmeriCorps, and it's been blessed by broad bipartisan support from leaders like John McCain and Orrin Hatch and President Obama, and it's responsible for some of the best work, the most innovative work going on in America today. Organizations like Teach for America and City Year and Habitat for Humanity. I don't think we need a massive nonprofit organization to reinvent the work of fixing school food either. There are organizations already working in all 50 states to do this work, bringing measurable improvement to school food. We just need to help them scale up. We need to identify those organizations that are most effective on the ground and give them boots, give them workers, and help them do more. Have a troop surge for school food. Service members who spend a year of modestly paid public service making lives better for the children who need the help most. I don't think finding those service members is going to be too hard. We have a generation of young people who are longing for meaningful work. I think we have half a generation just looking for work. But if we tap into this desire, this passion we've been hearing about today for young people to find a way to roll up their sleeves and put down their iPhones for a minute and get their hands in the dirt, grow food, help kids, connect with communities, make things better, I think we could have an idea that really grows. Now, where would these service members go? John F. Kennedy talked a lot about the new frontier, but it's the old frontier that needs us now. It's places like Iowa, where rural children growing up in small towns, surrounded by the nation's richest topsoil, too often don't get regular access to fresh fruits and vegetables. It's places like Mississippi and Arkansas and across the South, where the social and racial determinants of health have 1 in 5 children already suffering from obesity and far higher rates among children of color and low-income kids. And it's places like the Southwest, in American Indian communities, where some of the highest rates of diabetes in the world have taken root. Like the Tohono O'odham Nation in Arizona, a place where in Kennedy's time, type 2 diabetes, what was then called adult-onset diabetes, was unheard of. Well, today it's diagnosed in children there as young as 6, and 60% of the adult population is estimated to have the disease. These are the places where the legacies of racism, the legacies of poverty have already erected tall barriers to success. And the obesity epidemic and the cost of diet-related disease are only building those walls higher. We have to break those down. And the change needs to come from young leaders from within, well-trained and well-supported, and joined by servicemen and women from elsewhere in the country. What will these service members do in their year of poorly paid but intensely meaningful work? FoodCorps service members can probably take their cue from the Peace Corps as well. Originally, that program focused on education and agriculture and health. Well, in this case, education means nutrition education, teaching kids what healthy food looks like and being a young role model who shows that eating well and exercising might actually be cool. It means agriculture, which in this context is school gardens, helping kids touch and grow and taste foods that are good for them, foods they may never have had a chance to try before, like lettuce. It means health, which in this case is about giving those kids regular daily access to the healthy foods they've studied and grown through farm-to-school programs that connect local producers, growing the freshest, high-quality food there is with school cafeterias that are hungry for it. It means turning those cafeterias into places where healthy food is celebrated, even in some small ways marketed to kids, using a few of the tricks we've picked up from the fast food industry that's controlled that demographic for decades. Wendell Berry, the Kentucky farmer and philosopher and poet, talks about there being 3 kinds of solutions. There are solutions that deepen the problem they were meant to fix. That's like responding to global warming by getting a bigger air conditioner. Then there are solutions that just kind of push the problem around. Corn-based ethanol, maybe, which seems like such a sustainable solution when you're just staring at a field of corn ready for harvest, doesn't look quite so good when you remember that to grow that 1 acre of corn and fertilize it just one time with anhydrous ammonia fertilizer, you burned 2,000 cubic feet of natural gas. Then there's a third kind of solution. Wendell Berry calls it solving for pattern. Those are solutions that don't cause more problems or cause problems to get deeper, they cause more solutions. And I think this could be one of those kinds of solutions. Think what could happen if we start this steamrolling. Think what could happen if, instead of just helping kids escape obesity, we also start helping young service members get a foothold in jobs, in food and agriculture. If we start helping farmers find local markets in schools, if we start helping communities come together to build a garden and realize they have the power to fix other issues of social and environmental justice just by working together. Imagine 50 years from now if we got these things to really snowball. If we got these solutions to keep causing more solutions, I think some of the problems we've been hearing about and thinking about today would get a little bit smaller. That's my hope. I think all we have to do is take that tired old idea of food service and reimagine it as something a little bit old and a little bit new: real food and national service. Thank you.